Hey, you guys, thank you so much for coming back and joining us again on the I Am Salt Lake podcast. Today on episode 455, we are joined by Benjamin Lee, the Donut Critic. This is a must listen for basically everyone because who doesn't love donuts? Even if you don't eat donuts, you love donuts. I know that's true.
Hey, before we get into that conversation, though, we should probably introduce ourselves. My name is Chris Hollifield.
And my name's Chrissy Hollifield.
So I don't know if people realize that we record these introductions to the shows on Sunday when we release these podcasts, but we woke up to snow this morning. I don't think I'm ready for this, Chrissy.
You're not ready for it? My immediate reaction was like, oh, hell yes.
No.
I think I'm messed up because I grew up in Wisconsin, so when it starts snowing, I feel like it's finally home, you know? And you know what my favorite part of that is?
What is that?
Getting up kind of early in the morning when it's almost getting light and making a beautiful hot pot of Hugo coffee and just enjoying a cup with my mug all day. It's literally the best. So Hugo Coffee is a craft coffee roastery based out of Park City, Utah. Their head roaster John selects the highest quality beans with a rich flavor profile for a wide range of roasts from light to dark, and even an espresso roast. And these guys are our newest I Am Salt Lake podcast sponsors.
Hey, and if you want to find out more about the Hugo Coffee story, go listen to episode 389 of this podcast. It's when Claudia and John joined us on the podcast to share their story and share the Hugo Coffee story. And then they loved us so much they just wanted to sponsor the show. Their website, hugo.coffee. Go check it out. Check out all the different coffee that they have available. I Am Salt Lake podcast listeners, we created a special promo code just for you and your friends. If you enter the promo code podcast when you're at checkout, you get a very special deal. What it is it's buy one bag, get the second bag 50% off and free shipping. That's ridiculous.
And you guys won't regret it. Again, the website is hugo.coffee. I am currently enjoying their Bonafido dark roast, and I need to reorder the rollover breakfast blend because I already finished my bag off and I'm very sad. You would not regret buying it.
That is ridiculous. Free shipping, Chrissy. All right, here's that conversation that we had with Benjamin Lee, Utah's Donut Critic. You're going to want to listen to this one because you're going to want to know where those good donut spots are for you to go to. So thank you so much for listening. Enjoy the conversation. I like to even just kind of start where home is. Like, are you from Utah or did you move to Utah or where does that come into play for you?
So for the most part, I'm from Utah. I'm actually from Oakley, Utah. You know, that's about 20 minutes east of Park City. And I like to say that, you know, I was born on the mountain donuts up there. There's a little gas station up in Camas, and it bred my love for donuts and bakeries. And then just as time went on, like I, moved down to Salt Lake. I went to this University of Utah on my undergrad. So I was fully immersed in like the Utah Salt Lake crowd, and I loved it. I felt like it spoke to me. I've actually spent a little bit of time in Provo when I was younger, and I hated it at that point, and I just never wanted to move down to Utah County. And finally, just work dictated. I work for Adobe right now. Work dictated to move down closer there. So we're in Lehigh, and it's an interesting spot because I've spent so many years in the Salt Lake scene and have loved a lot of like the very interesting businesses and there's so many cool backgrounds of the owners there to now come and explore Utah County. And I feel like I'm just like on this like seesaw of, Salt Lake's so good in this way. And then now I'm like, oh, like Provo actually has some pretty cool options too. And so it's just like this like seesaw of like good options. And, it's kind of a fun place to live because I get to experience both sides pretty equally well distance wise.
So when did this come into play for you? Like the whole love of donuts and pastries. I mean, was that something from like a childhood? That's
like a from the womb thing, I would think.
Like my mom is a big lover of donuts, and I remember going and getting donuts with my mom, for example, as a young child. And so I don't know if you have fond memories growing up getting donuts with a parent or a grandparent or something like that.
Honestly, a lot of it started when it was like a youth group. So they would bring in these boxes, these big pink boxes full of glazed donuts or maple bars. And it was just this eye-opening, just wow, like I couldn't get enough of it. Like they'd always say, okay, everyone have like one or two. And it's like, I want 5 or 6. Like it's not like I was like this over ambitious, like this, it's not like I had this appetite. I just loved donuts. And that kind of bred into high school where it was just on my way to school. And, we'd stop in at the little Chevron shop that has a bakery in the back. And I would get, a glazed donut or a maple bar. And it just was like that habit. And so when I moved down to Salt Lake, I knew kind of like the bigger players and some of the other places. But then I started finding these like little shops in little places. And it really bred that desire to go out and look for more. I actually almost bought a bakery out in Tooele. I don't know if you've ever been out to Nighttime Donuts.
I think so, actually, believe it or not. Yeah.
Hey, impressive.
Yeah. So I was 26 and I was like, I want a business. I had a little bit of startup capital and I was like, maybe I buy it out here. And I'm kind of kicking myself, but at the same time, baker hours are at 2 a.m. and I was 26 and I was like, I still want like a night scene. I want like a dating scene. And so I thought it's either my dating or my social life or this business, this donut business. And ultimately I was like, I better like think about my social life a little bit more. So I bought a pizza place. And since then it just like kind of dug at me. And, I feel like it took a couple of years to really like get back to like, okay, donuts are the thing. Donuts are what I like. And like, I understand and that like really drives and motivates me to keep looking because, a lot of times like you get into interests or trends and like they don't stick, you get a year or two in and you're thinking, oh, like, yeah, these are good, but there's so much more to offer, or I've eaten so much of this type of food. It's never been like that for donuts. There's always something new and exciting. And one of the things that's been awesome is getting to know the owners behind it and the stories. And I feel like when you start getting that background, it drives you even more and it makes it more interesting than just the dough. And I always say it's like, it's beyond the dough. There's more than just like what's in the shop or what you're eating. There's so much more to it.
Do you ever think about buying another donut shop? Do you ever like in the back of your head, just to buy it and not work at it necessarily? Don't worry about getting up at 2 a.m. Have other people do it, but
just to help yourself to a free donut every now and then.
Just to go in and sit and eat donuts once in a while.
I wish that's how easy it was to own a donut shop. Just eat free donuts. Sorry, continue.
Well, let me just, so when I had my pizza place, I actually really loved it because people would come in and I'd host my friends and family. And I love pizza too. So I had a pizza a day easily. And I thought like it was the greatest thing. I mean, it just didn't work out based on area, whatever. And it was right at the collapse of 2008, 2009 that like it kind of went under. But I loved it. And I feel like having a donut shop would be kind of the same thing. I'd be inviting people in, like I'd want to be there when they're like trying new stuff. And so I've thought about it. I definitely have thought about it. I just don't know about the baker hours, but I've been thinking about doing the nighttime donuts because like the cookie places stay out really late. There's cupcake shops, other like places like Gourmandy's that are open late. So people need to go out and, they're getting a drink or a dessert or something. So you could start your day early with the dough and then be cooking at 5 p.m. You're getting the dessert crowd rather than like the breakfast crowd.
That's the way to do it.
That's a good idea, actually.
Speaking for people who always want donuts somehow in the middle of the night, I think that's a great idea.
Right. Because like you get off work at 5 p.m. and most of the shops are closed.
Yeah.
Or they have old donuts and it's like, I don't really want a donut that's been sitting there for 8 hours. So like if you're cooking up fresh donuts and, making kind of a party of it, like the dessert scene, I think it could really take off. So,
oh man, that's such a good idea.
Or a food truck actually might even be cool too. I mean, that might.
There is a donut food truck. I cannot remember their name. It's so cute.
Well, I know there's one over by MPS. There's a little donut food truck that parks there sometimes.
Yeah,
there's one out west. It's Crumb Donuts, and they do like little cake donuts. There's Art City Donuts. They have a trailer. There's Clark's Malasadas. They have a trailer, and they sometimes do nighttime stuff. And then there's donuts on a stick. You know, they like kind
Yeah.
of skewer them.
I think I've actually had like 3 of those. I'm not embarrassed. I'm proud of that.
No, I think you should be proud of that. The more the better. Let's say that. You're in the right crowd.
Here, here.
So your Instagram account, we haven't even mentioned your Instagram account. That's actually how I found you, the Donut Critic on Instagram. Well, it's actually just Donut Critic is how people can follow you on Instagram. How did this whole thing happen, man? Like, what made you want to start blogging and taking photos about him?
Honestly, I started just reposting pictures of other people's donuts. I mean, there's a lot of cool LA donut shops and there's a lot of cool New York donut shops. And I feel like I was just drawn to pretty pictures or the latest and greatest or what's really pretty or kind of outlandish. And then I started kind of doing my own like photography, and I kind of started working in like some of my own donut pics and started getting some relationships with donut shops around Salt Lake and in Utah County. And that's just where it was bred. And I thought, yeah, it's fun reposting or finding other people's donuts, but I just felt like my time. I just thought this is something I can do and I love, and I feel like it's way more fun to go out and actually eat the donut and take the picture of the donut rather than just post somebody else's picture, because you know you're sitting kind of behind Instagram thinking, man, I really wish I could try that donut. It's really pretty, it looks really delicious. And so it was that stepping out moment of I'm going to do it myself. And so it was about 2.5, 3 years ago that I really decided, like, I'm going to do it myself. Now, if you look at my feed, I'm more general desserts too. I mean, I still do donuts every week, and I still have shops that I'm trying new donuts for, or like figuring out like what else they do better. But at the same time, I've kind of general desserts right now too. So.
All right, we're going to take just a couple of minutes and tell you about one of our brand new sponsors. I am really excited to share this one with you guys. UtahMarijuana.org is your #1 spot for all things medical marijuana, medical cannabis, CBD, and THC. I don't know if you guys remember Tim Pickett from episode 420. Go listen to that one, UtahMarijuana.org. UtahMarijuana.org's team of medical cannabis experts makes getting your medical card easy. From your first office visit to navigating the state card application and beyond.
Yes, and with over 20 compassionate and highly skilled qualified medical providers ready to help you find relief, you won't have to search for a doctor willing to recommend cannabis treatment. The patient experience team at UtahMarijuana.org is dedicated to helping you get all the way through the process so you can get your medicine legally. And right now, they're offering an exclusive discount to I Am Salt Lake listeners. Use the code GREEN25 for $25 off your first visit.
And for our listeners in the West Valley City area, check this out. UtahMarijuana.org is opening a brand new office this week. It is located at 3615 West, 1987 South, Building 8 in West Valley. It's actually right across the street from Beehive's Own, the brand new dispensary there, so go check that out. So depending on where you are in the valley, they have an office near you. So remember, isn't it time that you took control of your own health? UtahMarijuana.org. Feel better. Thank them for being a sponsor of this podcast. Let's get back into this conversation talking about donuts.
Is it challenging to juggle this with just work and family? I mean, I know we do this podcast as a passion, and it's, I know it gets really hard. Even though you love it, it's like, you know, how do you kind of keep motivated when, even though donuts are delicious, you have to like allocate your time?
So I don't have a problem, keeping busy with it or, having the passion alive. I feel like the challenge is keeping my wife engaged in it and even my kids. I will bring home the most delicious desserts or the biggest array that they could ever want. And they are just deserted out. They just don't want them. And it frustrates me so bad because I am just trying these things. I'm so passionate about what I'm eating. And then I will turn to them and I would be like, hey, do you want to taste? And it's like, no, I'm good. And it's just like that. What? We've reached this point already? And so I think that's the biggest challenge, is making sure that like they're engaged and they're liking it too, because sometimes it does dictate where we travel or what we eat for dinner that night. Cause it's like, oh, I really want to hit this spot over here. Like, let's go over and, eat at this place. So
let's talk about this 2020 People's Choice. Where was that? The 2020 People's Choice Donut Shop in Utah. This was like a voting thing that people got to vote for their favorite donut shops in Utah, which is cool because originally I was like, well, let's talk about, some of your favorite donut shops, but this is like an entire list of awesome donut shops in Utah. Is this something you've done for a couple of years now, or is this the first year, or talk about that?
So this is the second year, and it's 10 times on the amount of voters, which was so exciting this year. And I loved it because I saw so much more passion behind the votes. I saw a lot of people that were reaching out and getting friends and families to vote for their favorite shop. And it was just a ton of fun. It was at the very beginning of COVID as well. And I feel like everyone was just like looking for something that was positive news or something that was fun. And so that just came together all at the same time. I mean, who doesn't want to talk about donuts and what their favorite are and go out and try to recruit people to vote for their favorites. And so it was so fun this year. But last year I had Fresh Donut and Deli, if you know them. They're on 27th South and State. They won the bracket last year, which I think deservedly so. They have some of the best donuts. I love them. Their glazed donut is one of my favorites. I'm not sure if you've tried it, but
I haven't. No, I'll have to try
Not
that
yet.
out. Yeah. And then it looks like the second in 2019 was Banbury Cross. How do you pronounce it? Is it
Oh my gosh, Banbury Cross.
Banbury Cross? Is that how you pronounce it? I
When
always
we
hear
used to work in the office, people at the office would always bring boxes of it in. And oh my gosh, I love it so much.
yeah, and Banbury is one of my favorites, and it's one of the top in Salt Lake as well. Their maple is probably my favorite, and then their cinnamon crumb. It's just so unique, and people love it. I will eat that donut all day, every day. That's one of my favorites. And so it was so fun because Salt Lake got really engaged last year in the 2019 because it was these two top shops in Salt Lake. Now, 2020 was interesting because it was two completely different top players, and I felt like it was for various reasons. I almost felt like it was like this regional race. So I had Donut Boy, which is out in West Valley, that does some phenomenal flavors, and I really like how soft their dough is. They're just that, you take a bite and it's just like this flavor rush. And then you have Mountain Donuts, who is up in Ogden, and they're a local favorite up there. They do kind of the Duck Donuts model where it's fresh donuts out and then made to order. And so you're getting a hot, fresh donut, fresh toppings. And so there were these two different reasons why these two different groups love the donuts. And I just love to see the passion between the two groups as they were, talking about like the pros and cons of each side. And yeah, like I said, the votes were really coming out, and it was down to the wire. The winner only won by 30 votes, which out of thousands of votes, that was remarkable. It was amazing to see something come to the wire.
And the winner was Mountain Donuts.
Mountain Donuts,
year.
yep.
Yeah. Which we should drive up there and try them, Chrissy.
I am going to write this list down.
Yeah,
you do not have to convince me.
Jack's Donuts, and then Clark's Malasadas. Is that how you say it? Malasadas?
Yep.
Malasada.
If you haven't had Clark's Malasadas, I highly recommend it. The problem is they've stuck more into Utah County. They do have some food truck stops that they do in Salt Lake County. And if you follow them, like, they'll post their schedule. I highly recommend trying them. They just have a really good dough. Their fillings are really good. Just, again, they are made to order. So they're hot donuts, malasadas, something more from the islanders, but they're really good. So I would recommend it.
Do you guys remember the cronut? Well, I'm sure it's still out there, but remember when it was like the only thing everybody wanted?
The what?
Yes.
The cronut.
The cronut.
It's like
croissant donut?
Croissant donut.
I thought you said the Corona, and I was like, well, everybody.
Remember when everybody wanted it?
Everybody wanted the. It's like, what?
No, I've always wanted a cronut, and I never, I don't know.
You haven't had one?
No. Are they still big?
my
Do
gosh.
people? I mean, this is sad.
Yes.
This is sad that I don't know.
Where do you get one in Utah, Benjamin?
So, first of all, this is kind of funny. My wife and I were just talking about, we went to New York last year, and I met the creator of the cronut. It's the Dominique Ansel. And so it was just like this honor, and the cronut that we got was just perfectly cooked and had like the soft interior and was crispy on the outside. So in Salt Lake, there are a few places you can get cronuts. So down in Draper at Donut Star, they do pretty good cronuts. And Darla's Donuts, which is in West Valley, they have a cronut stick, which is pretty good. And then if you go to like Macy's and Dan's, I honestly think their glazed croissants are some of the best. It's not a traditional cronut that looks like a donut. However, it's the glazed croissant that has,
just at Macy's grocery store, huh?
Yeah. Like,
this guy knows his donuts,
I
man.
love it. I mean, the kids are always asking to go there for their ice cream, so now I have an excuse too.
Yes. I hate when people bag on grocery store donuts, because I will admit 90% of them aren't great, and that it's not what I would choose. However, I think you can find something good at almost any shop. Any shop does at least one good donut.
What's the strangest donut you've ever eaten? I don't know. Is there any strange pastries you've had?
You don't have to name names, but, talk about your experience.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, is there strange? It seems like there could be some really
someone
weird
has
donuts.
to have gone. I mean, look at all the Oreos they make right now.
Yeah.
Gross, right? Somebody had to try something at one point.
So, not this year, but last year, Nighttime brought a pineapple jalapeno donut.
Whoa.
Okay, that actually sounds really good, though.
So it had the sweet, and then it had the heat that came with it. I'll be honest, I felt like it was actually in fritter form. So like they're like chunks, and I thought it was actually pretty good. It was a little outlandish, but if you can appreciate those type of things, I think it's pretty good.
Interesting.
It's not something I would eat every day, but it was something that was weird and kind of outlandish, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'll do that.
All right, this episode of the podcast is brought to you by our friends at Libsyn. Hey, are you thinking about starting a podcast? Do you have that coworker or buddy that's talking to you all the time about wanting to start a podcast? Hey, if you or someone if you're in the process of starting a podcast and you're looking for the best podcast audio host out there, go check out Libsyn.com. We've been using Libsyn to host I Am Salt Lake podcast for 8 years now, and we truly could not be more happy with them. They make it super easy to set up, and they make it super easy to get your podcast routed to all the podcast players out there like Spotify and Apple Podcasts. I Am Salt Lake podcast listeners, pay attention though, because we have a special promo code for you guys. Enter the promo code Salt Lake. You're going to get the rest of this month and all of next month of free hosting at Libsyn.com. Again, the promo code is Salt Lake. Basically, you're getting a free month to try it out, and you'll be supporting this podcast. Seems like a win-win. And many thanks to Libsyn for their support of this podcast. What makes a good donut, in your opinion, to you? Like, what makes a good donut? Or I guess it'd be your favorite donut. I don't know. What makes a good donut, and what's your favorite donut? Are they different?
When we're judging donuts, what should we do?
So I prefer a yeast raised donut over a cake donut. So kind of got to differentiate between those two. And then I think it all really starts with the dough. When I see donuts that just have tons of toppings, there's a little bit of me that is skeptical that it's a good donut, because I feel like they're just trying to cover up a bad dough with the toppings. And I can tell if it's a bad dough. You like take one bite and it's like, oh. But a donut that starts with a dough that is really focused on, I think, that is some of the best. And I judge most places off of their glaze, because you can really taste the dough. And so that if you have other types of donuts, they're going to be good because the dough is good.
Oh my gosh, this is like so exciting. Yes.
No, donuts, you got excited, Chrissy.
Man,
when
I did. I'm really hungry right now. That's okay.
This is kind of interesting. Like, what do people, like coworkers, tell you? Like when they find out that you do all of this with donuts and pastries and stuff, like friends and coworkers, how do they react?
It's kind of been funny. There's been somewhat of a tipping point. Like I've received enough followers that my friends and family have kind of talked to me that they think it's funny that there are now people that will talk to them about seeing stuff on my account without knowing that they are related to me or that they know me. And they just think it's that funny moment of like, hey, that's my brother-in-law, or that's my brother, or that's my friend, And so they just love, and they think it's kind of fun to listen to people's accounts or like listen to people, what they think of my stuff before they have like relayed that they're related to me or that they know me. And so like, it's kind of like a funny game. And like a few of them have told me that like they're fun experiences when people have said certain things like that. But then a lot of people, I feel like a lot of them feed me their specific experiences with different things. They're like, hey, have you tried this? And so I'm continually getting all of these recommendations on places, whether they're restaurants or whether they're just bakeries or little outlets or food trucks. And so I feel like the majority of the conversations I have now are about food, which I don't mind. I just feel bad sometimes. I don't want to be the one dictating all these family or friend conversations about food, but it would be inevitable that it would be coming to that. So
yeah, it's hard when you're the go-to guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has anybody came up to you like when you're out and about in public and be like, hey, you're the Donut Critic? That's when it gets weird, man. That's when it gets really strange, man. You're like, whoa, you want to buy me some donuts?
Yeah. So there have been a few times that have happened, and my wife just makes fun of me every time.
Good. Someone has to like, make sure that you're staying, what's the word? Humble.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So good for all of us.
I mean, do you think you've been to every donut shop in Utah? Do you think you've been to everyone?
So the dough show has been very beneficial because there's a few that are out there, kind of like in Tremont, where when I'm driving through, it's either closed or something, but they exhibited there, so they were a vendor, and so I was able to try their donuts. And there were a few other places like that where it's helped me to not have to actually go to the location just because they're in that different spot. I would say yes on donuts. Dessert wise, no. Like I feel like I'm continually finding new desserts. There is actually, now that I'm saying that, there are two places that I have on my list. They're traditional bakeries that also do donuts every once in a while, like Carol's Pastry Shop in Sugar House. I have not had their donuts yet. Okay. I've had their pastries, but they're not their donuts.
Interesting. That is, man. And so what you got to do is you got to tell your wife to say, well, you got to start your own Instagram with something you love, and then she'll get it. What are some of your other hobbies and interests, man? Like when you're not eating donuts, what else do you like to do? As we get to know Benjamin a little bit here, besides donuts, what do you like?
Honestly, like the counter to that is I have to have a lot of exercise or like a sport that I have to play, because I'm consuming X amount of calories. And so I have to like work off all those dessert calories.
Well, I was wondering how you look so good.
I know.
Yeah.
I was too.
I just didn't want to say anything. Like, well, I don't.
Can I eat donuts too now? Is that what's happening?
No, that's the thing is, and I get worried about that a little bit because often people say, well, I was expecting you to not be so skinny. Like, should I really trust a skinny critic? And that is hard because I totally get it. That if, you feel as though someone's not eating as much of the food out there, then how do they really know like whether it's good or not? And a lot of times I'm not finishing like the food I'm eating. So I'm like taking a bite or two to really just taste it and to like get it. Because if I was to eat everything I was getting and trying, I really would weigh 400 or 500 pounds easily. And so what I also love to do, and I actually have started only the last 2 or 3 months, is pickleball. Have you guys ever played pickleball?
You know what? Everybody talks about pickleball.
Yeah.
Like,
I've heard people talk about it.
It's like this
played.
hot game that everybody plays, and I've never played it.
Yeah. So it's basically tennis for older people. Because I played a little bit of tennis, but it's just a little too much running around, and like to get like somebody to play tennis with you. And with the trend of pickleball, I feel like there's so many more people to play with. You can just show up at courts and kind of find groups to play with. and it gives me enough exercise. Like I track everything religiously with, my exercise app. So it's that balance that I have to have. And I feel like that is something that's been really welcomed over this last couple months, especially with COVID. Like you got to get out in the sun and, breathe some fresh air. But I do like a lot of recreation, hiking, dirt biking and doing stuff like that. But
very cool. If you could learn a random skill, what would it be?
I would definitely say an instrument. I'm jealous that people can just sit down and express themselves in some form or another. It would probably be like a guitar, just to be able to play a tune or something. I make fun of my friends that do play guitar though, because, in high school, like they were always the ones that they would come to parties and everyone would be like, oh, well, girls are going to go suck to them. They're going to just like start playing guitar. But at the same time,
we all just thought of that guy that we grew up with.
They were in every group, right? I mean,
every party.
Yes. And we all hated them because, you knew your like the social aspect was over and they were going to like attract everybody to them. And so I laugh sometimes about that. But at the same time, like I do wish that I had that skill and that I could just like play a number or two.
They would be hard to compare, but do you ever try any of the vegan or gluten-free donut shops and kind of give your take on them?
Yeah, actually, I do like Big O donuts. If you've been to Big O,
we have actually, yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Yeah, I do like them. I mean, that is the hardest thing. Is I feel like they are great, but I feel like it is so hard to compete with a regular raised donut, if that makes sense. Like I feel like if you are in the realm of vegan or gluten-free, they are awesome. They do such a great job. They have some of my favorite flavors. Actually, their passion fruit donut is probably a top 10 donut for me, just because they have such great flavor and are able to do it really well. But it's really hard to overcome a regular donut.
Yeah, they're not. I was hesitant to ask it because they're not really in the same category. You kind of have to almost break it up by diet type and then say foods within that diet type.
Yeah, but if you're a donut lover, you got to try all the donuts. And
well, I mean, I wouldn't not do it.
There was a time that Salt Lake City didn't have that many donut shops. I mean, there was only probably like one or two, at least that I knew of. I mean, there really wasn't a lot of donut shops. Like, not it's the really same amount that you would find in, say, like the East Coast or the West Coast. People don't go to donut shops like, and get coffee and smoke a cigarette like they would in other states. I mean, that's what you would do. You'd go and sit at the little bar and get a donut and smoke a cigarette and drink a cup of coffee.
We're not Canada.
Or, we're not. But based off of all this stuff, and I mean, all the pictures you've taken on your Instagram and even your website, donutcritic.com, which I'll put at iamsaltlake.com with this episode.
Okay, and I absolutely love how you actually broke down the score chart. Is that what that's called?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm not a sports person, but if you go to the website, you can
brackets.
The brackets. That's the word. It's a sports word. I don't know. Yeah, like you can see the brackets for all the 2020 donut voting. It's really cool.
Yeah, honestly, it's been a lot of fun. And I feel like people get it too. Like you can see like, oh, this one won, this one. Yeah. So I think it's good.
Has there been any like rewarding things by doing this, or like any really cool things that have come into your life or happened for you because of your blog? Do you know what I'm trying to ask?
Yeah.
Like because of your blog, this
unintended
happened.
Positive outcome in any realm of life.
Yeah.
Because of it.
No, I feel like there are a few things, and this is part of what keeps me driving on and, keep eating because like sometimes it is hard to eat, especially just like sugary stuff, because I'm a salty food fan as well. Like I like savory stuff. A lot of it is knowing and really cultivating relationships with the owners. Like they're such good people, they have their dreams on the line and they're just trying to deliver something that people will love and keep that dream going. And so to see that and to work with them and, the happiness they get when I taste something and I really love it and I tell the world or tell Utah at least that it's good. I just love that feeling, especially during COVID. I've seen a lot of them struggle because just like the food restrictions and people not wanting to get out and seeing those places strive and some of them like really turn a corner or succeed because of some of the changes, I feel like that is so rewarding to me to see. And then secondary, I have made a lot more friends, foodie friends, and I'm a social person, but I wouldn't say that I'm a really big extrovert. And so to have something in common with a lot of people, I mean, there's probably a good set of 20 or 30 foodies that we on a regular basis talk with or kind of collaborate with just to like see what they are doing. I haven't had that type of network that I love to talk about or talk with for a long time. And so that has been probably one of the biggest rewards for me.
How cool is that? Yeah,
Yeah, man.
No, there is quite the foodie scene here in the Valley in Utah, and it's I see it getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah, it's really cool to watch.
But there's a few. Speaking of Salt Lake City, there's a few standard Salt Lake City questions that we ask on every podcast, Benjamin. So of course, got to ask you. We have family and friends that visit the city or visit us from time to time. I'm sure they come into town and visit you, and they're like, "Show me around. Show me some of your favorite spots." And people say, anything from a hike in the mountains to downtown to...
What's the Benjamin tour?
Yeah. I mean, is there one or two places you like to take people to show them?
I really love Banbury. I feel like Banbury is one of the unique places. And so which is kind of funny because there's been like a tour company that's been trying to get me to do like a donut or food tour. And it's like really made me think through like some of my favorite places. And I would say Banbury is the one that I would do just because they have some unique flavors and they're all based in Salt Lake. I would do Mr. Charlie's Chicken. I feel like they have brought in not just like great chicken and great food, but like a cool vibe too. I know the owners and Bartley and Cody are just amazing people. So I just feel like when you go in, you kind of feel like home. And then, I don't like to tell too many of the Utah secrets though. Sometimes it's like, that's the hard thing is because I want people to like enjoy it here. But at the same time, like I know how crowded everything gets, and I feel like just going up to Park City and just walking some of the streets either in the morning or at night when kind of all the touristy people have kind of gone is like one of the most fun things that I remember doing and that I like to be doing. So
very cool.
That is fun.
Another question we ask is favorite local eating spots, which I know you've given a ton of donut places. So now I kind of want to know what about dinner, man? Like when you're taking the wife out to dinner, like do you have like one or two favorite places you like to take her out to dinner?
This isn't like a Salt Lake original, but Carson Kitchen was one I just recently went to a few weeks ago, and it's awesome. I love that place, and I like highly recommend it. It just has really great food, and I just think that is a place that I recommend. And then Bombay House always.
Oh yeah,
I feel like Bombay House is the best Indian. I've had it in New York and internationally, and I feel like Bombay competes with all of them and is like a top place. And so that is definitely one of our go-to spots.
You should have seen Chrissy's face when she pulled up Carson Kitchen on the website. She pulled him up.
How did you know that's what I was doing?
She got excited. Yeah, I know you well, Chrissy.
I got really excited.
No, it's good. It's quality. It's got a a little bit of a niche to it. Like I feel like it doesn't hit everybody's palate, but like I feel like it's really good food, really well done, has a great menu. So
that's so awesome. I got to try it out, man.
Was there any others? Sorry, I kind of cut you off there with her face there.
I was over here Googling pictures.
Yeah. Was there any other favorite spots there? No.
Yeah. So my favorite taco place is La Casa del Tamal, which is out in West Valley. They do the birria tacos where they grill the outside. It's kind of like the roast on the inside with cheese and cilantro, and then you dip it in the consomme. And honestly, so good. I just recently had them probably a month ago, and I cannot wait to go back. It's so good.
Wow.
Man.
Go get those, Chris.
You are selling me on so much food right now.
Would you change anything about Salt Lake City or the Valley if you could? Let's say you had the power to do that. I mean, whether it's something crazy or something not so crazy, I mean, is there anything you would change?
Oh man, the only thing is the air quality. I feel like how it just traps in everything. That is the only thing that makes me sad. However, and I don't want to drive people down here, but I feel like Lehigh is in this midst, where like it kind of dissipates in this like central part between Provo and Salt Lake City. And so our air quality is not as bad as Salt Lake's per se. And I think that's the thing that we used to live up in Canyon Rim, and it was just sometimes so bad because it was hitting right where we were living. And I feel like that was the only thing that I really wish I could change.
Yeah.
But it seems like things are happening. I feel like there's a lot more on the bike. There, they have scooters and things like that are trying to, take away some of the traffic, but we'll see.
It's getting to be a pretty fun city. Not that it wasn't always fun, but it's getting pretty hustling and bustling.
Yeah, it's really grown. It's crazy.
Dude, I'm so glad I reached out to you to bring you on the podcast. I'm glad you came on here to talk about some donut shops and some of your favorite eating spots.
Yeah.
I mean, I know there's so much we could talk about, but was there anything you were hoping we would talk about that we didn't get a chance to talk about?
No, honestly, I think it's awesome what you guys do. I think, having a podcast that, covers multiple facets of, what the city's about is really cool. And like, I feel like if people knew about Salt Lake City and Utah more, I think more people would move here because it's just a great place. And I think
I was just going to say, that's probably why everybody is moving here.
Yeah,
dang it.
True. That is true. The more people like figure out like, oh, okay. Yeah.
It's actually kind of a cool place.
Yes. And it's only getting better. That is the thing is like, I love how downtown is churning and these areas that have traditionally been either highly commercial or just, haven't had a focus. I love driving through them now and seeing the life in them and the personality. And that's something that is very enjoyable when you're like driving through and it's like, oh my gosh, I love that building now. Like it was forever abandoned or like just something that wasn't it, and now it's like a shop or a restaurant or a brewery or something like that. So
yeah, it's really exciting to see people get creative with some of the industrial areas.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love that.
How can listeners get a hold of you, Benjamin? Like your website? I know we mentioned your Instagram and stuff, but let's talk about all those again, how people can connect with you.
Yeah, they can connect with me on Instagram. It's Donut Critic. So it's at Donut Critic. Or you can also go to my website. It's donutcritic.com. I'm also on Facebook as well under The Donut Critic. You'll see my purple little emblem or my little design. It's a man inside of a donut.
It's actually really clever. It's so, because it looks like the donut has a bite taken out of it, but it's also like a little avatar.
Yes.
So cute.
Credit to my brother-in-law who is an artist that did that. I love it. And I don't think I'll ever change it. So
no, it's like amazing. Don't ever change it. Tell him good job.
Chrissy has a final question she asks everybody that comes through here, Benjamin. I'm going to let her ask it. And thank you again for coming and doing the podcast, man. I've had a lot of fun getting to know you a little bit better.
Yeah, thanks, Chris.
You bet.
This was a lot of fun. Before we let you go, can you leave the listeners with a motto or a piece of life advice?
There is one that I definitely live by. So the motto I live by, and I think everybody can live by, is sugar isn't bad if you work for it. Yeah, and what that means is I feel like so many people are like cutting sugars and like their diets and they're like really making their life horrible because they think that that's the only way to like lose weight or to achieve their goals. And I feel like you need to have that incentive. You need to have that sweet reward. It's possible as long as you work for it. Everything comes out in the balance. And if you are balancing with exercise or work or things like that, then you can have those sweet rewards. So
thank you again to Benjamin Lee for joining us on this episode of the podcast. All of the links that we mentioned in this conversation can be found with this episode show notes, which is always on our podcast website at iamsaltlake.com. And if you want to go directly to this episode, iamsaltlake.com/455.
And it is weekly recommendation time, Chrissy.
Wee. That's my sound. That's the sound I literally make in my head every time.
You said that before, and I need to come up with some music right there for us or something. I need to.
You're like, please make it stop.
Anyway, we got some fun weekly recommendations this week. Just something fun that we watched or did or tried. I'm going to let you go first, though, Chrissy, because you had a really cool experience on Thursday night, actually.
Oh my gosh, I totally did. I took out a girlfriend to Five Alls restaurant, and I had never heard of it before. I was so excited to try it out. They're an old English romantic atmosphere, fine dining, and I thought that would be really fun. Okay, and the best part is when you get there, it's kind of hard to notice, and it looks kind of like a fancy Hobbit house. So like any nerds like me would immediately want to run through the store, right? And the whole place, you feel like you've walked into the medieval times or the Renaissance. It's got this ambiance where part of me wanted to go like find my old clothes when I used to sing madrigals in high school and like wear them there. But anyway, so the ambiance was amazing and I just wanted to be there. But the food was so good. They do like a 5-course meal and you just feel like a princess the whole time. The whole time I was like, they're going to kick me out. I am not fancy enough for this place. But it was affordable and it was delicious and it was just such a good time.
And they didn't kick you out.
And they didn't kick me out, and they probably should have, because I didn't know there was dessert, and I started leaving and they had to stop me and go, "Don't you want dessert?"
You're like, Chrissy, it's your favorite part of the course here, right?
And you should, the amount of excitement I got when they said dessert was scary, but I'm glad I stayed.
No, I'm so glad you got to go and experience it. And thanks to Taylor for taking the pictures.
Yeah,
and so
my friend Taylor.
We can post those online. And we've been talking with the owner. He said he would love to come and do the podcast with us.
Yes,
So,
and they have a fascinating story. I can't wait to share it.
yeah, you posted them on our Instagram account at I Am Salt Lake. You can actually go look at those pictures on our Instagram account. Again, that's I Am Salt Lake. What was interesting to me, Chrissy, is the amount of people that were like, I thought that place closed.
Yeah. And actually, so the man who was serving us, I actually don't know if he was the owner, but it sounded like he may have been. He really knew the whole history, and he gave us a whole rundown of how it changed ownership, and they've kept all the exact same recipes and everything. So it's exactly the same. But it had transferred ownership, so it was a little bit confusing for a while.
Yeah, well, it's there again, and it sounds like it's delicious.
And you should totally go.
Yeah, go look at those pictures. Hey, my weekly recommendation is Borat 2. That just came out on Amazon this past Friday, I believe. And we watched it. We laughed. We laughed a lot. I laughed a lot.
I laughed a lot, and I was like, holy crap.
Yeah, no, it was...
There are real people like this.
Here's the thing. I read the reviews, and there were people that were saying it was horrible. There were people that were saying it was hilarious. There were people saying it was the worst thing he did. And I said, well, you know what? I already have Amazon Prime, so I'm going to watch it for free anyway, right? Like, I'm going to watch it. So I watched it, and I laughed. And here, I think everybody should watch it once.
Yes,
I don't think it's... Excuse me. I don't think it's the type of movie that you're going to watch over and over and over.
Right. It's not like a movie that you quote for fun.
Yeah, but the original Borat was definitely better. This is great. Good laughs, good humor for everything going on politically and everything with there. And I think that was kind of why maybe it wasn't as good as some of the others, because I think maybe they were scrambling to get it out a little bit quicker because they wanted to probably get it out before the election.
For sure. And my take on it was that I think people went into it with different expectations, right?
Sure.
And I didn't have a whole lot of expectations. So to me, I saw it more as like an insane documentary that actually proved how scarily easy it is for people to slip things through.
Borat 2, go check that out. Such a great movie. We don't want to give away any spoilers though. And so I guess we should wrap this episode up, Chrissy.
Let's wrap it up. And don't forget, you guys, you can always visit our website at iamsaltlake.com to listen to the entire back catalog of episodes. And if you have a friend you think might enjoy the show, share it with them.
Yeah, we have a very low advertising budget, so that's kind of
zero.
Yeah, our $0 advertising budget. So we need you guys to share this podcast with your friends, because if you're listening, they're going to enjoy listening. So it's kind of a win-win. Hey, you guys have a great week. Get out and enjoy the city. Support local. And we're going to see you next week on the next episode of I Am Salt Lake Podcast.
And good night, Grammy.